Siddharth and I will be alternating. We will be discussing what to expect from the paper and how to look at maximizing your scores in this paper. I'm sure after that obnoxious paper which many of you would have taken yesterday, you would be a little apprehensive about that. But believe me, what happened yesterday in SNAP is not something that I'm very, very surprised with, because SNAP has usually been a shoddily created paper, and I guess for yesterday's paper they became a little more experimental than what they should have been. Okay, but let's keep that behind. Also because such a paper obviously means that the cutoffs will fall significantly, and I hope you have checked out your scores in the SNAP score calculator, which will give you a good idea and a good idea of what you have scored, and what all of you should remember is that the cutoffs will fall significantly this year. Okay. Let's get started with the session. Siddharth, if you could just say hi to everyone, and we'll also be able to check out your audio.
Hello, good evening everyone. Am I audible?
Yeah, Siddharth, that's fine, perfectly fine. Right. So let's get started, Siddharth. Then I'll control it from here. And so that's the broad agenda that we are looking at. We are looking at the structure. First of all, the structure, because they have talked about a small amount of change. So we'll discuss that change also. And then the third thing we'll look at is what to be done on the day of the paper. So three broad areas. And when we are looking at the structure, the first thing we are looking at is what was the structure last year. Because whatever changes are there, we have to look at with respect to last year. Okay. And so last year we had a paper which had 84 questions, 28 questions in verbal, 33 in quant, and 23 in decision making. And total time given was 140 minutes, and in our estimate, the breakup of time would have been something similar to this. In terms of overall level of difficulty, it was a moderate to difficult paper. Okay, and which is what XAT has most of the time been. And typically in XAT, in a paper of 84 marks, the cutoff for XLRE BM has typically been about 29 to 30. So BM, the cutoff would be about 29 to 30 when I'm looking at last year, and HR, the cutoff would be about 27 to 28. Okay, so this kind of a score. So you look at it, it's a fairly low scoring paper. Till last year, at least it had been a fairly low scoring paper. And this we are talking about out of 84 marks. Okay. Now this would be typically something like a 94, 95 percentile. And this will be typically about 90, 91 percentile. Okay. Now, while you can get calls at these scores, to convert the calls, typically you need to have about a 97, 98 percentile and a 97, 90 for HR. And for BM, typically you'll need something like a 95 percentile. Okay. So when we look at BM and we look at a 97 to 98 percentile score, that would be typically about a score of let's say 36 or so. And 99 percentile typically in that paper would be around 40 marks. Now till last year this was the scene that 94, 95 will be about 29 to 30 and a 99 percentile would be about 40 marks. And in a paper which has 84 questions or 84 mark paper. So at less than 50% net score you could get a 99 percentile. This was the typical exam structure of XAT till last year. Siddharth, would you like to add anything to this?
This is perfectly fine. For general knowledge, I will like to say that because we have already covered the part 1. Part 2, general knowledge, even getting 4 to 5 marks would have been sufficient provided you get call from XLRI. Right. So we will discuss more on GK. What I know is that last year someone who scored 16 marks in GK got all India GK. Right. So out of 30, we are talking 16 marks, all India rank 1. So I assume 4 or 5 marks would be good enough for GK.
That's right. In fact, if you have a very low score in GK, let's say 1, 1.5 or 2, you may not be able to convert the call. But if you have something like a 4 to 5 marks, you are at par with most of the others, and hence it's not an issue. Okay. Okay. Let's go further. Okay. Now let's look at what are the changes that that XAT has announced this year. Okay. First thing, the time allocation has increased to 170 minutes from 140 minutes. Okay. Now this is for the aptitude portion, the part 1 which they say, which means it has got QA, it has got verbal, and it has got decision making. This portion last year had 140 minutes. Now you are given 170 minutes. And this is followed by part 2, which is for GK and essay. And this portion now has 35 minutes, which was I think 30 minutes last year.
30 minutes, yes.
Okay. So typically what they have done is they have given a large amount of time, because somewhere along the line they had also been feeling that maybe there's insufficient time for the paper, which was the reality, that you did not have sufficient time to complete the paper. And a good paper by design is one in which few students will be able to do all the questions, but most of the students will be able to do about 60% of the questions. And possibly that is what they are trying to do this year by increasing the time limit. Okay. The number of questions have gone down from 84 to 78. So not only has the time limit increased from 140 to 170, which means gone up by 30 minutes, the number of questions are also gone down. So what they are strictly trying to do is ensure that you are able to at least have a look at almost all the questions, which was not possible till last year. Okay. Okay. And something new, which is negative marking for questions which are unattempted. But you can leave 13 questions unanswered. Beyond that, every unanswered question will have a penalty of minus 0.05 marks. So 1 by 20. So if you attempt, so the paper has 78 questions. Let me assume you attempt 40 questions. You have left 48 questions unattempted. So 48 not attempted. The first 13 there is no negative marking. The balance 35 questions you'll have a negative marking of 1 by 20 or 0.05, and hence you will lose you'll lose 1.75 marks. So that is the impact of this. So strictly speaking, when you look at this, the penalty is negligible. And since the penalty for incorrect answers is 1 by 4, so minus 1 by 4 or 0.25 is the penalty for incorrect questions. Hence, you are always better off saying, if I am not sure, let me leave the question. It is better to get a minus 0.05 than a minus 0.25. Okay. And this is what XAT has said in the note which they came out, that we will reduce the overall level of difficulty, and they want XAT toppers to be able to solve almost the entire paper, so that and hence we feel the paper is going to be more logic based. Siddharth, your comments on the changes?
Yeah, first of all, about the negative marking scheme, as GP has rightly pointed out, there is no point to attempt the questions on which you are not sure. It is always better to fetch minus 0.05 rather than to fetch minus 0.25. So go with the mindset as you would have gone had there been no negative marking for unattempted question, right? So remember that. The second thing is that overall, what will happen to overall level of difficulty? I understand that it won't go down by a huge amount. There won't be a great fall on the degree of difficulty. Simply because they have also said that they want only the top 100 students, or according to them, the top 100 students would able to solve the entire paper. Now, what does I infer from that is that paper will have more questions based on logic rather than the formula. So someone who has good logic and is able to apply the logic then and there would be able to solve the question, and that is what has been the trend of XAT also. If you look at the past few years paper, right? So that is.
Yeah. So just continue further with this.
Yeah. Correct. So if we look at the exam structure, we have exam structure of 2013, 14, and 15 being shown here. 2016 what we have mentioned is that yesterday, if you have noted, that came out with the XAT 2016 question booklet first page. That's a very interesting thing which any exam committee has done. They have came out with the XAT 2016 first page, in which they have mentioned that in 2016 section 1 will have 26 questions, Section 2 will have 23 questions and section 3 will have 29 questions. They have not defined which section will be the first or second or third. They have just mentioned that these three sections 1, 2, 3 will have 26, 23 and 29 questions respectively. Now, if we look at the past trends, typically first section we assume would be verbal ability. In all likelihood, we have mentioned below possibility 1. Section 1 would be verbal ability. Section 2 will be decision making and section 3 will be QADI. Now let us compare each section vis-a-vis what has happened in these sections in past few years. So if you look at verbal ability, typically the number of questions have been around 28, 30 in the past 3 years. This year we assume the number of questions to be 26. Decision making, not much of. Last year 23, this year again 23. However, quant and data interpretation, there is drop of 4 questions. Right. So what does that mean? That you will see in the further slides when we discuss cutoffs. Now there is another possibility that first section could be QADI, second section could be verbal ability, and third section could be decision making. Why we are inferring that? There is a small chance of this possibility, but then we have covered it because if we go through the exam structure section of XAT website, right, there is one section, exam structure. If we go through that section, sections are mentioned in this particular order. QADI is mentioned first, verbal ability is mentioned second, DM is mentioned third. Now can we infer that actual paper will have this same pattern? I don't know. I mean, that's why we have said that it is possibility, but according to us, in all likelihood, first section will be verbal ability, second will be DM, and third will be QADI. Simply looking at the past year trend, QADI has more number of questions and decision making has least number of questions. That's why we have taken this stance. Right? So this make for 78 questions. Another noticeable thing is general knowledge questions have reduced from 30 to 25 this year. And if you have in the last slide we have discussed that time limit has also increased from 30 to 35 minutes. Very interestingly, about general knowledge, they have made few comments which we will discuss in the slides ahead. Right. So this is from my side for this particular side. GP, if you have something to add.
Yeah. Just to highlight again, GK and essay together you'll have 35 minutes, and which means that 25 odd questions of GK maybe you'll take not more than 10 minutes, which will leave you with about 25 minutes for the essay part. Okay, so don't get bogged down just because it says GK plus essay. GK questions usually will not take time. Okay, let's go to the next slide then. Okay. Yeah, let's come to the time allocation. Okay. Now these are the two broad approaches that we have. This is the first approach which you can look at. Now if you look at the previous paper, let's go back to XAT 2015 paper. Okay. Now if you look at the XAT 2015 paper, a good time breakup in 2015 was about 45 minutes out here, 55 minutes out here, 45, 50, 100 and so I think it was 45, 50 and 55.
40, verbal ability would be 40.
Yeah, I'll just go back to the previous slide. Yeah, just give me a minute. We had mentioned that also. Yeah, 40, 50, 40, 50, 45 and 50 minutes. 55, sorry. I mixed up the two. Okay, so let me just erase this. Okay, so if you look at last year's paper, good time split last year was in 2015, XAT 2015 was 40 minutes here, 45 minutes out here and 55 minutes out here. Okay, and this was a total of 140 minutes. Okay, now this year we have a total of 170 minutes, or the plus 30 minutes, where should there be spent? Now typically you'll find most of the time you leave English questions. If you have done the old XAT papers, you'll find that time is typically not an issue for verbal. You leave questions because you don't have sufficient knowledge or you are unable to solve the question, not because you are lacking in time. Hence we don't think more than 5 odd minutes are required to do well in verbal. So out of the extra 30 minutes, 5 minutes is what possibly you should be looking at extra as far as verbal is concerned. When it comes to decision making, you should be looking at definitely a plus 10 minutes, because typically in decision making you tend to leave the mathematical decision making questions which are time consuming. Now with the extra time available to you, you can definitely look at attempting those questions also. Okay? So the way I look at it is, this area should get another 10 minutes decision making, and quant is the section where you are actually struggling for time. You are not able to complete the section, and you end up leaving questions even without reading the questions. So this is a section where you need to definitely give the extra time. So maybe about 15 extra minutes out here. So if you have to give extra time, the extra 30 minutes could possibly get split out here, and which is what gives you this kind of a breakup. Most of the time we will say about 45 minutes for verbal, 50 if you are weak in verbal and you take a lot of reading time, but that means you'll have to cut down on quant time. So if you are, for most of you, I will say 45 minutes for verbal, 55 minutes for decision making, which makes it 100 minutes, and 70 minutes for quantitative. Okay, so that's a broad structure that you can look at as far as this paper is concerned in terms of time allocation. The second approach could be to say, let me just spend 45 minutes in each of the three sections. Now these 45 into 3 gives you 135 minutes, and you also have a good idea of the complete paper now. Now in the remaining 35 minutes, go to the section or the two sections where you think you can maximize your scores. Okay, because 45 minutes would by and large be good enough to clear the sectional cutoff of each of the sections, and in the remaining 35 minutes you can end up maximizing your scores. Okay, so these are the two broad approaches which are available. Siddharth, your views?
Yeah, for approach 2, I will like to add that this approach is most suitable for people who think that they don't have any strength in particular or weakness in particular, and it depends on the type of paper which is there in front of them, right? So giving 45 minutes to each section, as rightly pointed out, will enable you to clear the cutoff, and then you need to maximize your score. Typically, if you want to score say 99 percentile in XAT, right, either you need to score 99.67 in one of the section and 94, 95 in other two sections. It depends upon what is your strength. If you are say average in all the three sections, by average here I mean that even average person to get XLRI 99 percentile need to score 96 in each of the three sections. So it depends upon what kind of strength you have. Some people are very good in quant, some are equally good in all three. So for such kind of people, approach 2 is much more suitable. But for approach 2, you need to take care of time management. 45 minutes means 45 minutes you need to switch to the next section. Right.
And the other expectation is, then in the 45 minutes you would have looked at each of the question at least once, so that you have a reasonable idea over the level of difficulty, and you know where is it that you have questions which you can solve to maximize your score. Okay. Yes, Siddharth, we can continue from here. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Let's go section by section now. Yeah, over to you, Siddharth.
Correct. Thank you. Now let's look at the verbal and logical ability section. Now very interesting that XAT is the only exam which names this section as verbal and logical ability rather than reading comprehension. So there is a lot of significance being attached with this word logical ability. You won't find coding, decoding and sitting arrangement questions in this section. No. What do they mean is that all the questions will be very logical in nature. For example, even the inference-based question won't be like, what is the tone of the passage, right? What they do is, after the passage, they give another scenario and they ask, depending upon the information given in the passage, which of the following will be the correct answer. So all the questions will be inference-based as far as RC is concerned and critical reasoning is concerned, which form very important part of this particular section. Right? Para jumbles, I will say, are the easiest of the lot to attempt as far as the CLAT question paper is concerned. Grammar is very hardcore in nature. I remember last year, they gave one entire paragraph and asked students to identify which of the following is adjective, which of the adverb, so on and so forth. So it requires good degree of understanding of grammar. Prior to that, they gave question on articles. It may sound easy, but trust me, the questions were very difficult. If you look at, I think 2013 paper had 2 questions on articles. 2014 was identify the adjective adverbs. So they come up with these kinds of grammar questions which test your fundamental. If you are clear with the fundamentals, you will do very well here. I suggest to go through the grammar funda once again before going to the XAT exam. That may help you. That will save you some precious time also and help you to score. Talking about the sentence completion, they have multiple blanks question. Multiple fill-ups are there in the questions. And typically, if you look at past few year question, these blanks have homonyms, similar sounding words which you need to fill. So I don't know from where they come up with these kind of questions, but they are difficult to attempt. Sentence correction is the easier part. Para-jumble, sentence correction, these are easier part. If you have a good reading habit, you will get the sentence correction questions right. Vocab-based questions, they come along with the sentence completion, usually clubbed with the sentence completion question. Although I think last year they had 1 or 2 questions directly being asked from vocab. Right, so RC is the most critical part. If we look at the next point, it says that over the last 3 editions of XAT, RC contributed to over half the questions in this section. Right. Now, if we combine what all we have discussed till now about verbal ability and the logical ability, we are saying that we will be having 26 questions in this section. We will be roughly giving 45 to 50 minutes to this particular section, which I think is decent amount of time for anyone to attempt or at least go through all the questions in this section. Right. So I don't think time would be constrained here. You can relax and read the RC. Do not panic. See, a lot of RCs will require reading them at least twice, but that happens with everybody. There will be very few people who can read RC at one go and then attempt the question, particularly of that. So, but we have plenty of time. So do not panic. This section is there to be attempted. Right. Now let us look at what we suggest as tips.
Just one thing which I would like to add. RCs are not lengthy. Please remember, RCs in XAT have never been lengthy. Those of you who have taken CAT this year would have seen long RC passages. RCs in XAT typically are short in nature, but yes, they are difficult to read and you need to concentrate. Don't try to rush through RC or critical reasoning, or rather don't try to rush through this paper at all. The only place where you can probably think that rushing through is probably vocab-based questions and to some extent sentence completion. Okay, but by and large, I would say this is not a section in which you are trying to speed. You go at a deliberate speed. You make sure you understand. Focus on comprehension rather than speed. And look at it this way again. 26 questions, 40-45 minutes, up to 55 minutes is acceptable. You have almost 2 minutes per question. So don't rush through the paper. Take your time, understand the passage, and then answer the questions. Yes, Siddharth, over to you.
Yeah. Another thing about RC and critical reasoning in XAT is it is very, very important to read the question. We may have done all the hard work by reading and understanding the RC, but we rush through the questions, and the questions are tricky here because we are saying that questions are inference based. So you need to understand what is being asked. That's it about RC and CR. Now let us look at the tip. We suggest that your order of attempt should be para-jumbles first. You need to look or search through for the para-jumble question, then sentence completion, grammar and vocab, before moving to the more time-consuming sections of critical reasoning, RC and sentence correction. Okay? Yeah.
Now this is the portion which is going to be time-consuming and also error-inducing. So which is why the suggestion is this is the easier portion. Please do the easier portion first and then come to the more difficult ones. Over to you, Siddharth.
Yeah. So next is, out of 26 questions in this section, you should target to attempt 18 to 20 questions. I believe those who are good in English, they will not leave any question unanswered. And someone can actually answer all the 26 questions, unlike in mathematics where it would be very difficult to answer all the questions. So the 26 question, even if you attempt 18 to 20 questions and get 80% of them right, it's a good performance. It's really good performance. You must be able to fetch, you may be able to fetch 90 percentile, provided that performance with that kind of performance. Yeah. So let us now move to next.
Yeah, over to on to decision making now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So decision making questions are typically, what happens in these questions is, first let me explain that there will be a case given. The length of case may vary from say 300 words to 1500 words. Last year I remember that there was one particular case which was 3-page long, but the case was really easy, and the not the particular case, the questions which were asked on the case were really easy. Someone might be tempted to leave such cases, but we suggest do not do that, because we again have plenty of time to attempt the 23 questions asked in this particular section. Now the cases might be on the behavioral aspect or mathematical aspect. In behavioral aspect, there will be one particular situation given. There will be few constraints which will be given in the passage. By constraint, the constraint might be, for example, the vision of the company is always to think about the customer delight. Just one of the example which I am saying. However, company does not have enough money right now to spend on some particular thing, and then the case may follow. Now, what you need to do is you need to keep constraints in mind while answering the question. You need not mark the best answer, but what you need to mark is the ideal answer which fulfills all the criteria, which keeps in mind the constraint, in which no stakeholder is being treated in unfair manner. So those are the things which you need to keep in mind. What we suggest is solve last 5 to 6 year XAT question paper. That is the best source for data decision making section. Now for the DM questions based on DI sets, we think that maybe there may be one case which might be mathematical in nature in this particular section. So just treat it as data interpretation set and attempt it that particular way. I remember last year there was one particular question of decision making which involved mathematics. The maths involved was really simple, and each student might be able to solve that particular question. But the option which was given, the options didn't have the right answer. Whether it was deliberately done, I don't know. But the answer was very direct, and that direct answer was not given in the option. So those kind of things may happen, but then it will happen with everybody. So again, no need to panic. You just need to understand and leave that question, right?
Just to add to what Siddharth is saying, now as far as I'm concerned, this is my favorite section. This is my favorite section for the simple reason it does not require too much of effort to solve the behavioral DM questions. These kind of questions are the easier ones, and to me this is almost like a simple RC passage given. Okay, so I think this is a section which most of the students are afraid of. But if you consider it just like a reading comprehension passage, you will certainly find it becomes very, very easy. Yes, Siddharth, over to you.
Yeah, see, anybody with minimum basic amount of common sense will find this section interesting and easy to attempt. That I can assure. So no need to be afraid of this section. This is the best of the 3 sections, right? For me also. Now the next is how to attempt the question. You need to eliminate choices. And then boil down to maybe two options out of 5. There will be 5 options in XAT, not 2 options, not 4 options like CAT. So what we need to do is we need to eliminate the choices and boil down to 2 choices, and then look for the correct answer, keeping in mind the fairness, legality, and the desired end result, and of course the constraint which I have pointed out, and then you mark the answer. Okay.
In fact, the most important criteria is fairness.
Fairness.
As an individual, as an organization, as a person, you have to be fair to all concerned. Okay, so please remember, if we are stuck between 2 choices, the choice which is fair to everyone, which is objective, is the choice which has to be taken forward. Yes, Siddharth.
Yeah, and they also have few typical questions. Now what they do is they give a case, they ask a particular question, and they give 5 options, and then they ask you to arrange in ascending or descending order the options which are most suitable or least suitable, the case, whatever the case may be. Now these questions are really difficult because they require good understanding and good amount of logical mind. but then they are very interesting. You need to attempt this section. These kind of questions, the one which I have discussed, in which you have to arrange all the 5 options, are a bit time taking, so you may consider solving them at last, right?
However, the other thing in these kind of questions is that when you have to arrange, most of the time, if you are able to identify which are the 2 best or the 2 worst choices, you will most of the time get the answer. Okay. So again, look at eliminating choices in such questions. Okay. This is again important. Don't let your personal biases influence the decision. Don't get involved with it. You are a third party, an outsider. Go only by the facts of the case. Do not import facts from outside. It is only the data which is given in the case which is important for you. Okay. Yes, Siddharth?
Yeah, that's it about it. Yeah, the last part, out of 23 questions, you should target 17 to 18 questions, because we believe that almost all these students will solve this particular section, and you cannot afford to lose in a section where everybody will score. So minimum 17 to 18 questions you need to attempt, and I again believe that you can solve all the 23 questions, provided there isn't any data interpretation caselet which is very difficult in nature, but then it will be difficult for everybody. Nevertheless, 17 to 18 question is achievable, and 55 minutes, again with 80% of accuracy, you will do a great job in this section again.
If I have to break these 23 questions into 3 broad components, I will say I will say there are likely to be about 5 questions of DI kind of decision making. Okay, so let me just call it DI. Then out of the remaining 18, I'm sure there will be about 4 to 5 questions which are difficult in terms of questions which are a little ambiguous, which require greater amount of effort, and there will be maybe about 13 to 14 questions which are easy. Now, it is important that these 13 to 14 and these 5 are definitely attempted. The behavioral decision-making question, one-odd set, one-odd passage is typically difficult or confusing, or will talk about ethics and morality, and which will completely confuse you. That is the one you may end up leaving. But the DI one and the simple question which are easy to understand of this behavioral decision making should definitely be attempted, and which is why we are saying about 17 to 18 is what 17 to 18 questions what you definitely have to look at attempting, if you are reasonably comfortable with the rest 4 5 also, then it's great. Otherwise 17 to 18 will usually be sufficient for the paper. Okay, so let's move to quant now.
Right.
Yes, Siddharth.
1 minute. A few students are pointing out that audio is gone. I hope we are audible to everyone.
That's fine. Siddharth, it should not be a problem. There's a team at the back end which is taking care of that. And in any case, this will be recorded and available on the SIS. Okay.
Now moving to the quant section. There are a lot of, I must say, assumptions on this particular section, whether this section, what do XAT actually mean by dropping the difficulty level? Everybody assumes that quant section will be easier, but I don't know. I don't think it will be a lot easier than what it was last year. Again, I go by the point that only 100 students will be able to solve the question in 170 minutes. So don't expect it to on the other hand, as I pointed out earlier, and as GP also pointed out, that the questions may be lot logical in nature. They may not require the application of the or the direct formula, but they may require the application of the concepts. And it is true with any XAT paper. You may pick up any paper and that you will find. What they do is that in mathematics question also, they have typically 5 to 6 line questions. They will give you a small case kind of thing that a person has gone to this particular shop. He has 4 options. Option A is this, option B is this, and then you need to calculate which is the best decision for him. So it can be, the questions are of that kind which requires good amount of understanding also, and not only based on the formula or direct questions like what we saw in CAT this year. Typically, questions are from arithmetic, number system, algebra, and geometry. I mean, as the case is with all the exams, right? Yeah. Base system and mathematical reasoning may have couple of questions. In algebra, function is one area which I think is favorite of XAT. They ask question on functions every year. Almost every year you can see that there are questions on functions. Or you can also, if there is a question on say graph, it shouldn't surprise you. We expect that there can be questions on graph also, because these are the questions which require good amount of logic. Okay. Now moving to the tip part. If this is your strength, you should target almost all the question in 65 to 70 minutes. Now, why are we saying that? Because if you go through the last year paper, that is XAT 2015 paper, there were around 14 to 15 questions which were easy in nature, although when you look at them, the questions didn't seem to be easy. But if you go through them and spend 1 or 2 minute time, then you will able to get to the answer. The questions were easy in nature, 15 questions. 5 to 7 questions were very difficult in nature, but someone with good mathematical ability might be able to solve all the 29 questions in 70 minutes. Average student, they may look to attempt 17 to 20 questions in this particular section, and it is doable if we give 70 minutes time. Again, no need to panic. Read each and every question. If you read each and every question, I assure you that there will be at least 10 questions, which you will be able to solve. Right?
In fact, there is a place where I have a difference of opinion with Siddharth. I think it is not at least 10. I will say maybe about 13 to 15 questions can be solved. Okay, and obviously I'm assuming an average student. The top students will obviously be able to look at 25 odd questions. But I don't think it will be very easy for anyone to go beyond 22 to 23 questions. Okay, so when I'm looking at this paper, I'll say good students or slightly better students should be able to look at 70 to 20 questions. The top students could look at about 22 to 25 questions. Okay, so top students could look at top in quant could look at this game. And will there be people who will do all 29 questions? Yes, I'm sure there must be a couple of them, but I don't think many people will be able to attempt more than 25 questions. Siddharth, over to you.
Yeah. So now we can move to the next part.
Yeah, just to reiterate again, SQC and round 1, round 2, round 3 approach will work very, very well out here. Round 1 should be only for those 10, 12, 15 questions which you find very easy. Round 2 should be for those questions which you know how to solve but are time consuming or a little difficult. And the remaining question in round 3. Okay. Okay, cutoffs.
Yeah, this is the most interesting slide, which all of us should think or ponder upon. So what we think is 2016 estimated. See, we have mentioned 2015, 14 and 13 cutoff. If you look at the cutoff in the verbal ability section, there hasn't been much of the difference. Right, so 7.5 for BM and 2013 it was 8.25. So we can say range was around 7.5 to 8.25. Similarly for HR, if you see, there wasn't much a significant difference across the 3 years. In fact, if you look at all the sections, there hasn't been much of a difference. Right, so for both for BM and HR. Now, what will happen this year? It is in.
Okay, we seem to be having some small audio problem with Siddharth, so let me take it from here. Now, when we look at these cutoffs, in verbal, we expect the cutoff to go up.
To understand.
Siddharth, let me just. Hello, Siddharth.
Yeah, I am here.
Siddharth, we lost you for. Yeah, your voice had vanished for a couple of minutes. So I just took over. So let me just continue with this part. Okay. Now, when we're looking at the cutoffs, now typical cutoff of BM and HRM has been in the region of 7.5 to 8.5 marks for verbal, and this we expect to go up by about 2 to 3 marks to about 10 marks. The reason is very simple. Till last year, you had 140 minutes. Now you have 170 minutes. So obviously, with the extra time, you will possibly be able to spend a little extra time in the section and be able to hence get a couple of extra questions right. So we expect the cutoff of verbal to go up by about 2 marks or so. Decision making and quant, again, because the big jump will happen here. If you look at the past, the decision making cutoff has been fairly low every year. Okay, And this year, because we are saying you will possibly be able to attempt extra 5 questions, the ones which are the mathematical decision making types, which normally people end up leaving due to lack of time. We expect the cutoff to go up to about 12 to 13 marks. 13 on the high side, it could be as low as 11.5 to 12. So let's say 11.5 to 13, 11.5 to 13 marks is the cutoff likely to be here. And with similarly quant, with the extra time, you should be able to get another 4 to 5 questions right. So from 8.59, you will be able to get to about 12.5 to 13. Now these are what we say the cutoff scores. Now when I'm saying cutoff score, please remember the cutoff for BM and HRM is typically slightly different. For example, the quant cutoff is typically about 80 percentile, for 80 percentile, while for verbal cutoff, HRM has a higher cutoff and BM has a lower cutoff. 90 percentile for HRM, this would be typically 90 percentile, and this will be typically 80 percentile. Okay, so what we are looking at is the higher of the two figures. So what we are saying is typically a 90 percentile in the section is likely to happen at 10 marks in verbal, at 13 marks in quant, and at let's say 13 marks in decision making. Okay, so this adds up to 26 and 10, 36. And at 40 marks you are fairly safe in terms of cutoff. At 40 marks you could be somewhere around 97 percentile, 96 percentile. Now please remember, till last year, till that 2015, a 97 percentile was somewhere around 35 marks. That we expect to go up to about 40 marks. Okay, but what should your target be? Your target, let me just put another column. Your target should be getting a 15 marks out here, getting a 15 marks out here, and getting a 20 marks out here, a total of 50. What would this mean? This would mean a 99.5 percentile plus. And last year at 40 marks you would have been about 99 percentile. Okay, so the target should be 50 marks, but even if you are any 40 plus, you will get a call. Okay, Siddharth, if you are there, you can take on from here.
Yeah. You can get call at say 97 percentile, but to convert the calls, you need to get around 98.5 percentile. It becomes very difficult to convert calls at 96, 97 percentile. For at least 5 marks, I think that 45 marks should fetch you 98 percentile, and 50, if you get 50, it's really great. So this is about the cutoff which we have thought of: 45 marks, 98 percentile. 50 marks, easily 99.5, right? So that's what you should aim for. You can plan accordingly. If you have, say, strength in verbal ability, then rather than scoring 50, you can think of scoring 18 marks, and that can be compensated in other sections, right? So that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So something which you need to remember. All what we are saying are our estimates. And any of these estimates could go off, and you should not get unduly worried if you have a long caselet, or if you have analytical reasoning, which is you have to solve by hit and trial, or graph-based questions appear in QADI. Okay, the standard rule of scanning the paper first and then deciding how much time to spend in which section is extremely important. Please don't just start with the first question immediately on getting the paper. Open the question paper, go through all the sections, spend 2-3 minutes understanding the paper, allocate your time accordingly, and then start doing the paper. And the same process has to be done for each section also. Okay. Yeah, Siddharth, over to you.
Yeah. For the QADI section, I will like to add one more point. Every year there is at least one caselet in data interpretation which is pretty novel. I mean, you may not have seen that kind of caselet, but if you spend 5-7 minutes on that particular caselet, you will be able to crack it. So do not be afraid of that caselet. Every year there is at least one caselet of that particular nature. Analytical reasoning, hit and trial based question. I remember when in 2006-7. They used to have analytical reasoning questions. Analytical reasoning question means the sitting arrangement kind of questions. But the level of difficulty used to be pretty high. You need to, the questions, you can only solve those questions through hit and trial. There was nothing like a table will be formed and then you can mark the answer like what happened in CAT. So these kind of questions can come. They are time taking. But then it will be same for all. We don't know what they actually mean by the particular statement that 100 students will be able to solve the paper, and the level of difficulty will also go down. So these two things they are making us also think that what all possibilities can happen in that, and that's why we have included all the things which we thought can happen in the paper. So don't be surprised if any of these things happen. Right?
Just to add to what Siddharth said, the hit and trial analytical reasoning question, do not ignore the choices. The choices usually help you in such questions to get to the answers. Okay, let's move on to the next part, which is the GK and the essay part. Yes, Siddharth.
Right. See, that document clearly mentions that questions on GK will be general and not specific. Right. Now, what do we mean by these terms? What we have inferred from these terms is that, say, they won't be asking question on what is the GDP, question like the current estimated GDP of India for the financial year this and this. Rather than the question can be which of the following factors help a country to increase its GDP. So the question can be of this nature, or the question can be of the nature about the collegium system, which of the following things are correct. Rather than asking who is the Chief Justice of India, they may ask the kind of questions which are general in nature, which require you good understanding of the particular topic, and they won't be asking a specific question. I mean, there is no point going through these kind of things that who has won the Nobel Prize in physics. I mean, they can ask, but that's what we have inferred from general and specific. Okay. Now, what to do? How to prepare for GK? That's something.
Just one more thing. No negative marking in GK.
Yeah.
Yes, Siddharth. Please continue.
Yeah. Now that's the question, that how to prepare GK. Now, first and foremost, let us understand as far as the same board, right? There will be very few people who are good in GK. The second thing to understand is that GK plays part only if you get call from XLRI, right? And if you have been a regular reader of the newspaper and follow the current happenings, that I don't think fetching 4 to 5 marks will be that. What we suggest is that you be abreast with the past 3 months current affairs and the issues of national importance, the things which have happened in the past 3 months, which have been there in the mainstream media in the past 3-4 months. These are the things from which you can expect questions. Okay. Coming to essay part.
Yeah, coming to essay.
Yeah. Now typically you will be left with around 25 minutes to write an essay. You need to write a quick essay. Now the most important thing in the XAT essay is you need to give your opinion, but the opinion should be structured. You need to write essay in a structured format. The sentence should be crisp and grammatically correct. Why does crisp statement help? Crisp means short statements. Short statement helps you to avoid, because many a times when we make sentences, the entire structure become complex and we may commit the grammatical mistakes. What we mean by structured opinion is follow a PrEP model. What is PrEP model? Reason, and point, reason, example, and point, right? So what you should do is you should first state your point, then you should give reason for why you are saying that particular point. If you have some example to quote for that particular reason, great, it will fetch you some extra marks, and then again conclude it through some points. Okay, so PrEP structure is very necessary for the essay also, and for all the paragraphs which you write in essay. Divide your essay into paragraphs. Each paragraph should have new concept or the new idea about the main argument of the essay. Okay.
Okay. Now one of the things which you should remember about essays, just the moment you read the essay topic, please don't start writing down. Take 3-4 minutes, structure your thoughts, break it into 3 or 4 paragraphs, with 1 point per paragraph, with good amount of explanation, and then move on to it. Okay. Most of the time the mistake is committed because people think that there is not sufficient time for essay. 25 minutes is a hell of a lot of time. Okay. And if you take 5 minutes to just structure your thoughts, understand the topic, structure your thoughts, and then you do another 15 minutes of writing, that is good enough. Actually, to my mind, 20 minutes is more than enough for the essay. 25 minutes is an overkill. But given that they have given us these 25 minutes for essay, or rather 10 minutes for GK and 25 minutes cumulative, 35 minutes out here, and this is our breakup. So I would want you to definitely spend some time structuring the essay. Try on your question paper, the rough sheet, you can jot down your points as to what you want to write in each of the paragraph. Most of the important arguments, what kind of examples you want to give. Take 5 minutes, structure your thoughts, get your data in place, and then start writing down. It will help you in coming out with a good, structured, and easy to read essay. Okay, and extremely important, the essay topics of the past you should definitely do. XAT has had different varieties of essay topics, and some amount of practice out here should be helpful. In addition to this, you could practice on the basis of GMAT essay topics also, GRE and GMAT essay topics also. Okay. Anything else, Siddharth, on this?
Yeah, what I will like to say is maintain the factors. They say no overwriting, no katapiti, and it should be neat and readable. Okay, that's all. They don't want journalists. They don't want people with extraordinary writing skills. They just want people who can communicate their thought process. So do not panic. They are not demanding too high. They are just demanding whether a person can communicate his or her thought effectively.
Siddharth, there's a question as to how long should the essay be?
Right.
Yeah, please, Siddharth, continue.
Yeah, what I suggest is that do not worry about the length. I think 3 to 4 paragraphs with 3 to 4 good points substantiated with example is good enough. In 20 minutes time, anyways, you won't be able to write 1500 word essay. So maybe 500, 700 word essay with good amount of substance is decent, right?
On this issue, the one thing which I would like to add is that you are given a sheet of paper, front and back. If I remember correctly, the sheet has about 15 lines on each side, 15 to 20. So you have at best something like a 30-35 lines available to you. On each line, even if you write 10 to 12 words, you can write only a 500 word essay. And most of the time I have found that is more than enough. So even if it is a 300 word essay, it's not an issue. They are not looking at the length, they are looking at the substance, the content which is there. Okay, and how well you have been able to structure your thoughts and present it to them. So length is not important. 300, 350, 500 words. You'll probably go to as high as 700-800 words. Anything beyond that, you'll not be able to manage. So even if you do a 300 to 400 word essay, it is perfectly fine. Yes, Siddharth.
Right. And do not think you have to write the entire length of the page, that is front and back, right? And start spacing wrong kind of spacing or doing something silly. You can fill one side of the essay and that will be good enough. The substance need to be good, right? The content need to be good. 3 to 4 good points with examples is good enough. Okay. Now, past few years they have focused on psychology and social issues. Last 2 years they have asked questions. I would classify them as psychology. And prior to that, they used to ask questions on social issues. You can expect something on the same lines, maybe psychology or socio-political issues. You can practice essays on the current topics and the past few years. That will be good enough.
Okay. Right. Okay, Siddharth, let us just look at the questions out here. I'll keep reading out the questions and maybe you and I can alternately answer them. Let me just quickly look at what are the questions available. And those of you who are posting questions, please post a question only once. We'll take up all the questions. Let me take questions on Snap calculator not working. It is working. Please check again. Last night there was some issue which was resolved. After that, over 5,000 students have already used it. So please use this. Okay, is there negative marking in GK? No, there is no negative marking in GK. Essay we have already discussed. Siddharth, can you... I don't know from where we are getting some background noises coming. Can the host career launcher just check out? Maybe it's at your end. Okay. Okay. We have discussed essay, so let me not go back to essay. Will the degree of difficulty of DM section go down this year? Unlikely. I would believe it will be similar. I have now never found DM to be very difficult, but every year there's one set which is a little confusing. So, but I would say DM is likely to be by and large similar. What can be 90 percentile in quant out of 29? In quant, 90 percentile. Okay, let me just come here. I think this will be easier here. Okay. Okay, so when we are talking about quant at 90 percentile, I think let's look at the cutoffs that we have mentioned. By and large, that is the kind of score you have to be looking at. Okay. Okay. Because when you're looking at cutoff, we are saying that a cutoff of assuming the cutoff to be 90 percentile, this is what you should be able to manage. Yeah. I am overshooting every time. Yeah. Okay. So if you get a 13 odd marks in quant, you will most probably be above 90 percentile in quant. Okay. Okay. Global business management cutoff is likely to be about 32 to 35 marks. Yeah. Okay. Does GK have negative marking? No negative marking in GK. Okay. Okay. Do you think 4 to 5 marks are enough in GK considering no negative marking? Yes, Siddharth.
Yeah, I think they are enough. The GK part, 4 to 5 marks is good enough. You go through the past year's GK section and just for an exercise, if you are that interested, why don't you compare it with the IAS prelims paper? The level of IAS prelims has gone down significantly in past 2 years, and you won't be surprised to see even that follows that kind of thing. So 4 to 5 marks is good enough. Don't worry about it.
Also, the IFT GK cutoff is 0.82 marks.
Correct.
Yesterday's SNAP paper, people struggled to attempt only on 6 to 7 questions in GK. So don't worry, if you get a 5 mark in GK, you are very, very safe. Okay. Okay, how many marks needed in GK for safer side? 5 marks is good enough. Where should we study GK from? GK you study from the compendium which has been provided to you, the GK compendium. You look at the mocks. Now which mocks? SNAP, IFT and XAT. Now these are going to be your prime source of GK. In your test gym also you will find some amount of GK. Go through all of them. How long should the essay be? We have already discussed. Anything from 250 to 500 words is good enough. And as long as you can present your idea well, it is perfectly fine. Will we be judged on the use of good vocabulary? No. All they are looking for is your ability to communicate in the written word. If someone is not sitting across, are you able to make that person understand your point of view? That is what they are looking for. What should be the order of attempt among the 3 sections? Order of attempt, sequence of attempt. I can give you my sequence of attempt. Okay, my sequence of attempt typically is going to be English or verbal, followed by DM, followed by quant. Now, but that is because I am okay doing quant in the end, and I typically want to finish English first. Siddharth, what would typically be your sequence of attempt?
I follow the same sequence. English first, decision making second, QA. In QA also DI first and then quant later. So that is what my usual sequence is. Okay.
In my case, it will be DI in the end. QA first and DI later, but that's fine. So you have to see what is most comfortable for you and accordingly attempt the paper. Okay. What kind of a score would get you calls from IMT? IMT typically the cutoff is about 90-92 percentile marks. Now IMT, the cutoff IMT Ghaziabad, that is, it can go to as high as 94 percentile, but typically we find 92 to 93 percentile is good enough. Now in that we are saying we expect a score of about 36-37 to be about 95 percentile. Okay, so something like a 32-33 should be good enough for IMT. 30 plus could be sufficient for IMT. Okay. Can we expect overall level of difficulty similar to CAT? No. In fact, I would say I expect this to be slightly more difficult than CAT. when I say that, I am talking especially with respect to English and quant. English and quant are likely to be more difficult than QAT. Okay. English and quant are likely to be more difficult than CAT. Okay. Don't expect direct formula-based question which you have seen in CAT and even in SNAP. Okay. Okay. I think by and large we have been able to. We expect less question from static GK facts. Yes, we expect less questions. The focus would be on understanding. Rather than asking what is the inflation rate today, they would say which of the following factors causes inflation. So it is understanding rather than data which will be checked. Okay. I am appearing for that for the first time. This is Ishan who's asking us. While writing essay, if we make spelling mistakes, then we cut and write again, will it create an issue? You see, any kind of cutting is not good, but a spelling mistake is also not good. And between the two, I would say cutting and correcting the spelling mistake is a better option. And which is why I always insist that before you start writing down your essay, collect your thoughts, structure your essay, and then write down carefully so that you don't make a mistake. Okay. What would be the cutoff for SPGN? SPGN typically would have for score-based calls, the cutoff would be about 96, 97 percentile. So something like a 37 to 40 marks is what you should be looking for SPGN. Okay. How can we get the last 6 year essay topics? Please connect with your CL center. They have the topics. You could also check out on the XAT website. I think they have given all the old papers also. Okay. And there you could find all the essay topics also. Okay. Siddharth, there's another question out here.
Yeah.
This is from Anisha Rajput. I lag in verbal section but do well in quant. What should be the minimum attempts in verbal? So that I try and maximize attempts and score in the quant section. Minimum attempt in verbal.
So very difficult to answer minimum attempt, because while attempting verbal, we always think that we have attempted the right option. Right? Only when the result is out, we come to know that our answer was wrong. But assuming that you have around 65% accuracy, right? Even then, if you have 65% accuracy, you need to attempt 20 questions in the section, and that will fetch you around say 11.5 marks. So that should be decent enough. 20 questions with 60%, 65% accuracy. But then again, rather than marking a fluke, it is better to leave the question. Attempt 12 questions which you think that's your best attempt. Right?
Yeah, I was
fluke attempt only those questions. Yeah.
No, I'm along with you. I would say choose your 15 questions to attempt and solve them, rather than trying to go all over the place, because what we are looking for is a safe score in verbal. To me is something like 10 to 11 marks is what you need. So if you have to get a 10 mark out there, you need to attempt at least 13 to 15 questions. Okay. Okay. Does XIMB and other colleges consider essay and GK? No. GK and essay are considered only by XAT, by XLRE. Other institutes don't look at GK and essay at all. Okay. Pratik is asking us, does number of wrong questions have any negative impact in GK? As there is no negative marking, we will be attempting all questions. No, the number of wrong questions GK has no negative impact. Okay, the negative marking for there is no negative marking for GK, so it should not matter. All they will look at is the net scores. Siddharth, maybe you can handle this question.
Yeah.
What is the weightage of XAT score, GK, interview and essay in the final selection?
Speaking, nobody knows that, right? So it will be a guess. No, nobody knows that. They have never revealed that this is the weightage. But what I feel is that, I have known that in our interviews, they ask question from essay, right? They ask question from essay. One of my friend, he finally made to XLRI. The interviewer asked him that, what are your views on this particular thing? He picked up a sentence from the essay and he asked, what are your views on this particular thing? And my friend, he told that he was clueless. Then the interviewer told, who is the gentleman who has written this particular point? It was Yashashvi, and the gentleman who was being interviewed, and he was finally selected. So what I feel is that they look for the communication skill, but yeah, it is always good to remember what you have written in the essay. Nobody knows how much weightage they give. I actually doubt whether they give the weightage. They just have I must say, screening kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
So they will say that if you are, say, very poor in GK, say you have scored 1 mark or negative mark, they may not at all consider you during the interview. So rather than,
yeah, absolutely agree with you, Siddharth. To the best of my knowledge, there is no weightage for GK and essay. The entire weightage is for XAT score, interview process, and there is maybe a 5 to 10% weightage for past academics. Okay, so that is the data that we have. Will it be the same this year, or is it confirmed? Obviously, it is not confirmed and they can change. So past acads and work experience, that will be 5 to 10%. That is 50 to 60%, and interview process about 30 to 40%. So that's the broad weightage. GK and essay are there just to see. It's a pass-fail kind of a thing. And if you're very, very pathetic in GK, or if you have written a very poor essay, they may not want to take you forward, irrespective of your XAT score and the interview performance. Okay. All XAT papers before 16 have different time limits. So when we take these papers as mocks, how much time do we take the test in? Okay, let me take XAT 2015. If you take XAT 2015, my suggestion is give yourself 140 minutes first and see how much are you able to attempt. This will tell you where were you with respect to the people who attempted the paper last year. Then give yourself 30 minutes more, and then see how much are you able to attempt, and are you able to reach the required score or not. So I would suggest that the past papers, when you're attempt them in 2 parts. In the first part, go by the original time limits and the additional time, so that the total becomes 170 minutes. Okay, this will ensure that looking at the performance in the original time limit, you'll know how well you have done the paper vis-a-vis others, and the additional time limit which you will add to come to a total of 170 minutes will tell you as to in the extra time how much extra could you have attempted, and that will also help you decide as to which section you should be giving the extra time to. Your views on this, Siddharth?
No, I always attempt, personally, I would attempt XAT 2015 paper in 140 minute also, in 140 minute only, and then as sir suggested, I will look for what I would have done in extra 30 minutes. So do not change the rules of the paper. Whichever paper you are attempting, you need to attempt it with keeping in mind the rules and regulations of that particular year. Do not tweak it. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. There's a request, Siddharth, for both of us. A couple of people want us to attempt a XAT paper and record it. So maybe you and I have some more work to do. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Can you post an actual XAT paper video, another one? Okay. Okay. How much negative marking in a normal paper? Negative marking is -1/4. Okay. 5 choices, so negative marking is -1/4. Okay. Okay. What is there? What should be the study plan for next few days, Siddharth?
See, if you have studied till now for CAT, then I don't think you need to do anything extra but to solve the past 6 to 7 years XAT paper and at least write 3 to 4 mocks of XAT. So that, which means that maybe till XAT 10 papers, considering last few years actual XAT paper and mock papers, you should write 1 mock every day. You should analyze the mocks, very, very important, and for GK past 3 months current affairs should be good enough. That's what I would look at this point in time. Nothing new, nothing fancy, just taking the test each and every day and analyzing them to the hilt.
Yeah, just to add to what Siddharth said, I would want you to definitely attempt XAT 2010, 12, 13, 14 and the 5 mock XATs which have been given. I am not asking you to attempt XAT 2011 because this was a very, very different kind of a paper, an experiment which possibly went wrong. Okay. However, all the other papers of XAT, if you have, let's say, XAT 2008, 2009 and 2011, from these papers you should definitely do the English and the DM section. Definitely attempt these from this. You need not do 8 and 9 quant, because the quant there was a of different type. But 12, 13, 14, 15, these 4 papers you should definitely do. If possible, do XAT 10 also. The other papers, make sure you attempt English and DM definitely from these papers. Okay. And the 5 mock snaps, mock XAT, sorry, is what you should definitely attempt. Okay. My score ranges from 22 to 25 in the past XAT papers. Okay, so maybe there's some identify. Maybe Karishma, you need to identify first of all which is the section which you can take which can pull you up. If you have taken the paper in 140 minutes, see if the extra 30 minutes, where could you have pulled yourself? 20 to 25, 2 to 25 is not a bad score in the past that paper. With extra 30 minutes, can you take it to about 35 to 40 is the question. Okay. Okay. Siddharth, I think we are now repeating the questions. Okay, there's one question, Siddharth. I have not seen this, but they have mentioned in the admit card that 13 questions will be distributed through the section. What does that mean? The unattempted 13 questions.
Frankly speaking, even I have not seen that, right? But if it is there, then logically it should be distributed pro rata to the number of questions in each section.
That's right. I was about to come to that. Quant has 29 questions. Verbal has 26 questions and DM has 23 questions, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that makes it 78. So these 13 is 1/6. So I will say about 5 will be here, and about 4 will be here, and 4 will be here. So this could be 4 to 5 or this could be 3 to 4. So I would assume that the first 4 unattempted question DM will not be penalized. Any questions from DM beyond the 4 unattempted ones will be penalized with minus 0.05. Okay. Again, Ankit is asking us, can we expect the overall difficulty level similar to CAT? Absolutely not. My expectation is that will be more difficult than CAT, which has always been the case. The quant, especially, and English will be more difficult. DM, I've always found to be an easy section, except for 4-5 questions which are confusing in nature. Should we answer all GK questions due to no negative marking? Yes, Neeraj, that is what I would do. Okay. Study plan for next few days, as we have said, it is old papers and snap and the mocks. Okay. Okay. Score for Great Lakes. Great Lakes typically has a cutoff of 90 percentile, so something like a 32 to 34 marks should be good enough. Okay, which section can be targeted as a score booster? To my mind, the section which can be targeted as a score booster is going to be quant. Because till last year, the section which you were not able to complete was quant. And typically in DM and English, you would leave questions by and large because you were not able to solve the question, not because of lack of time. In DM, you could. So from my point of view, as I've said earlier also, quant, English and DM. I would say English extra attempts are unlikely to happen. Maybe because of extra time, you will be able to have a better scoring rate. In quant, you can definitely look at something like a 5 to 7 extra questions. And in DM, you can look at another 3 to 5 extra questions. So that is a bare minimum I would look at, saying, can I look at extra 10 questions out here in this paper? That's the bare minimum. But as I said, if I'm going to take the paper, I would target a score of 50. But even if I end up with a 40, I'll be happy with it. Okay. Siddharth, any other question you can see? I can't see any other question out here.
No, I think we have covered all the questions.
Is there any reservation quota in XLRA? No. Reservation is only in government institutes, so there is no. So if you're from the reserve category candidate, you are a reserve category candidate, you need to go for the general category cutoff only. There's no reservation. Okay, I think same question getting repeated again and again. and lots of requests for attempting the paper. Yes, Anup, Apurv was saying last year decision making answers are actually were very strange for some questions. Apurv, that is true every year. There will be one data set or 4-5 questions will be very confusing, and that is why I've always maintained if there are 23 questions of decision making, attempting 17 to 18 is good enough. Because there will be those 4, 5, 6 questions which will be very confusing, and you will be better off leaving them. Safe percentile for HRM and BM call. Safe percentile for HRM conversion is, I would say, 95 percentile. For BM conversion is 98 percentile. If you get a 98, you have a good chance of converting a BM. And for HR, I would say a 95 is a safe number. What is expected? That we have already talked about the cutoffs. 29 in 2000 XAT 10 SAT paper in 160 minutes is low. Okay, it will be difficult for me to say where you need to improve. We'll have to go through all these sections. Okay. Our 2005 to 7 question papers were doing the DM. All the old papers, let's say 2000 to 2008 papers, please do the English and DM definitely. The best DM material is in the XAT question papers only. So all the old papers, you should definitely do the DM questions. Okay, so that I think that completes the session for us. In case you need to get in touch with us, let me just give you our coordinates. Okay, so in case you need to get in touch with us, for both of us, Siddharth, your photograph seems to be missing out here.
It was there. I don't know where it is.
Someone just said, yes, I think it's coming now. Yes, now it's here. No, it's gone. Okay, either way. Okay, so in case you need to connect with any one of us, you can do it through Quora, through Facebook, or through our phone numbers. Okay, all the best, and thank you very much for being patient with us. Okay.
Thank you so much.